Okay,
Bang.
welcome to the Let's Talk About It podcast. So let's just talk about it. We got Scott, Bucks fan, Giancarlo again, Warriors fan. We'll just start with you, Scott. Before today, we're going to talk about our fantasy draft that we just did a few days ago. But big news came through, and
Giannis
Giannis is staying home.
baby.
So first thoughts on
Let's
that,
go.
Scott.
I'm glad. I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
He's a star. He can force his way out, but it just feels good that there's no fucking uncertainty about it for a little while. They put a team around him.
It made you sweat for a little bit, though.
Yeah, I mean his teammates gave 20 of his teammates bought him pens for his birthday, and that was a funny joke, and he didn't like the joke, so I'm like, oh shit.
A little bit of a record scratch for a second.
Yeah, so I was scared, but we're good. He's staying. Team's better than last year, 100% upgrades across the board.
Do you think because of how long he took to decide um, that he was for sure leaving if they didn't get rid of Eric Bledsoe?
Yes, I think he took as long to sign as he did because he had to size up the team on some level through practice and the preseason games that have happened.
That's actually, yeah,
I
fair.
think that there's no way that he goes in blind, and I don't fault him for that. He's the biggest free agent, in the coming years, and he wants to win. So if he doesn't feel like the Bucks can put a team around him to have a shot at it, then I wouldn't have fault him for leaving. But they did. They pulled out all the stops, especially when you consider we almost had Bogdan as well.
Mm-hmm.
They did. They really did pull out all the stops for him. So
The question for you, Giancarlo, our friend David, who I've brought up multiple times, is also a Warriors fan. He messaged us, me and Scott and him have a group text, and he said, "Giannis betrayed us. We had him." So as a more like someone that thinks a little bit further and also a Warriors fan, do you think how close do you think you had him before this news broke?
I don't think we had him at all, honestly. I know it's hard because, well, one, I'm actually happy he re-signed. I think
I am too.
To put aside, I mean, obviously, if he was like, I want to go to the Warriors, I would have been like, amazing. No way I would have hated any part of that. But I think big picture, it's good for him. I think it's good for the NBA. It's fun. And then, I mean, you start when I first heard about maybe Giannis would go to the Warriors, I was like, no. But then you start thinking about it more, and even just the idea of Steph and Giannis together, you're like, come on, that would be amazing. But I never really got to the point where I thought we had him, especially when people started throwing around well, maybe he'd go to the Mavs, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense. So I never felt like we were the front runners. I felt like we were top 3. Maybe it was Bucks, Mavs, us, or maybe top 5. But and plus it seemed too far away. We have the whole season. I wasn't even there yet of being maybe we got him, maybe he's coming. If the Bucks sucked, kind of what Scott was saying, if they made these changes and then it didn't work out and they had a really bad year and he was really frustrated, then I might have been a little more all right, this could happen. But it was too early for me to actually think that. So
kind of like the inverse, I guess, question of the Bledsoe question is how much do you think, if any, the Klay Thompson injury affected Giannis's decision to go to the Warriors?
That's a good one.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so either, but it's interesting.
I don't think Clay's offensive game's not as hurt. Maybe it is. He's kind of like a catch and shoot off the, basically handoff type shit. But I don't know. I don't think that would have played a huge role, especially when you consider the year Andrew Wiggins is going to have. Like,
this is the year.
This is a
All-star,
Wiggins
baby.
pod. This is a Wiggins Stan podcast.
But going back to what you said, Scott, about the like how he was going to fill out the team and stuff, I was thinking about that, and like, you know, the Bucks kind of maybe not took heat, but like there were some people that were like, you know, that's a lot of picks to give up for Drew Holiday. Like they're kind of screwed if either Drew isn't that good or Giannis leaves. Like they've really put themselves in a bad position. But like clearly it worked because you do everything you have to do to show Giannis, look, like we'll do whatever it takes. We'll make whatever move so you stay. We want to build a team around you. And so I think they have to be like acknowledged for that, because they could have been stingy with the picks, and like New Orleans doesn't let go of Drew because they're like, we need more picks. And Milwaukee's like, we can't give up picks because if we lose Giannis, we're screwed. And then just played it safe. But they didn't do that. Yeah. They went in, they put it on the table. They were like, here are all the picks. We want our guy. And then maybe that had something to do. Giannis looks at that. He's like, I want to be here. And the team is willing to make moves to make our team better, or at least make our team better. So maybe he respected that.
Well, they made really tangential like upgrades, right? Like Drew is a better Eric Bledsoe, so to speak. And then DJ Augustine, still don't know much about him, but seems to me almost like a George Hill clone in terms of what his role will be on the team. So they definitely want to keep doing something similar. My concern is that's a positive, but it's also a concern of mine because Coach Bud just gets exposed in the playoffs because they just play one style of defense and one style of offense, and
I think he'll learn. If he doesn't, then he really solidifies himself as a bad coach. But I think he got a little too accustomed to the good life in the regular season and then couldn't change it up. You know, he was still doing I'm going to run Giannis 33 minutes and we'll still win this game mindset and not really change anything else up, where it's just a whole different world when you get to the playoffs.
Yeah, he did that the first couple of games in the Heat series.
Yeah, and it was just like
come on, dude.
And then he still went back down too when they pressed him on the interview. There was like, I didn't see your need to play 40 minutes when Jimmy Butler is heaving and playing 48 minutes to will his team to try and win those Lakers games. And clearly, if he sat for even 2 minutes, they don't win that game. You know what I mean? They get 4-1 or get swept. So it mattered, and maybe Bud was watching the finals and realized that kind of matters. So, but yeah, I think for sure, I don't know that Giannis would have left, in my opinion, if Bledsoe stayed, just because you just can't. You could do all you want. You could be undefeated in the regular season and then still playoffs, bust out. But I do think it's a big win that Giannis stayed, and it's a big win for the league and for Milwaukee. I feel like he's going crazy. Because, Giannis is a really good guy, also a superstar, but he does have those stories of really being connected to the community and doing stuff. I feel yeah. Okay. And the fact that he kind of did the good guy thing, where we have this shadow looming of Harden trying to do the ultimate bad guy thing of like, get me off this island no matter what, no amount of money, no amount of anything will stop me from leaving here. I think it's a very good look.
That actually does bring up a good point. I mentioned this to Harry earlier today. I think the Heat were a front runner actually to get Giannis, especially with what Jimmy did to him, in the playoffs. But now I think Harden is going to force his way to the Heat because they now have no chance at signing Giannis. And he's already mentioned that they're a destination he'd be willing to go to. And I think trading some picks in Tyler Hero gets you Harden. You take that all day, every day.
Pat Riley's 100% going to take that if that's on the table. Yeah.
So I think that's because, that's what the deal for Harden to Philadelphia is rumored. Like Ben Simmons has to come.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously think Ben Simmons is better than Tyler Hero, but young up and coming talent for a rebuilding team, plus a bunch of picks that might do it. Especially when the trade deadline's coming up, might not be right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think Harden ends up in Miami. That's my prediction.
What are your thoughts on that, G? Scott kind of pitched this to me earlier when we were talking about it, so I'm curious what you think.
I think it makes sense. The concern I would have, I feel like the Rockets are working, and they might just be losing this position by the day because it's a mess. But like, it feels like they need to get like a legit star back. Like, if it was Tyler Hero and picks, like, it feels a little light because Hero could, like, he'll probably be good, but will he be like superstar? Like, would he hit like a Ben Simmons level? Like, maybe you could even maybe say probably, but like, to not get a for sure dude back when you're giving up Harden, who's like, like wherever you want to put him in the league, like he's at his peak, right? Like he's Harden. So if you give him up and then you Hero doesn't turn out, and then like you don't really hit on your picks, like, plus if the Heat are good and the picks
you're
are
getting
bad,
contenders picks. It's not.
Yeah. So I think like it'd be tough for the Rockets to look at that and be like, let's do this. But the more this gets dragged out, like, are they gonna feel like, well, we have to do something because our team is a mess? I don't know.
Yeah.
I would, if I was the Rockets, I would just give Harden to some dog shit team just for the disrespect that, he's just pounding sand at this point. He's gotten everything from the organization that he's wanted, and sometimes you just got to take the L.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
well, that's
I do think he gets out, and my take is to the Heat. But I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying makes the most possible sense because they've kept saying we need young core to come back. That's the only way we're really entertaining. I mean, obviously, if it's Brooklyn, it's like we want Kyrie, but that's more just to be like we want go star for star, but also to make Brooklyn back down. But they keep saying, now that the Brooklyn thing seems like it's not really coming to fruition, they keep saying we want young core that we could build on because now, we shipped Westbrook off. If we lose Harden, we're basically back at square one and want to just build. So it would make sense. It'd probably have to be like Hero and K-Nun or Hero and Duncan Robinson plus picks to get them there to be like, okay, we kind of have this youngest backcourt. We still have probably Wall to help run the offense too, and then just go with that. See how Christian Wood and the wing shooters pan out, and
which is
still
weird
doesn't seem as
Robert Covington away,
Yeah, that was
just a weird thing to do.
That was a big loss for them, for their style too. But yeah, I don't know. It seems the most possible. Not saying it's going to happen, but yeah, I do think Harden's really trying to find his way out, and obviously the Heat are going to be really aggressive with trying to pursue that if it's actually a possible thing. So we might see it happen. And Jimmy promised before the season ended that they're going to land a big player in the offseason. And they're the only team that hasn't really gotten anybody, and offseason's basically over. Hayward and everybody has basically been taken up, including Giannis. He's been spoken for as of today. So that kind of raises the question, like, is it going to be Harden? And then, I had Jimmy kind of playing with like adding those little comments to Harden's picture, like some statement he said, whether that's just him messing around because that's Jimmy or if it has a little bit more weight to it. But I don't know. It could definitely happen.
I mean, probably little A, little B, but Jimmy does clown around like that pretty often. So
yeah,
it's not like an open book.
But kind of what you're saying though too, Jimmy is really, which is kind of why I like him a lot, is really an open book, or at least he speaks his mind. He's very for better or for worse, he feels like he's 100% him to anybody he's talking to, whether that's media or whether that's just like personnel or teammates, which has gotten him in hot water before, but I do think he's very
running with the threes, baby.
Him a lot. So maybe him playing a little bit is a little A, a little B, but maybe it does tell a little bit more of the story. I don't know. But that's definitely something on the horizon that we'll have to look for. But he is playing tonight, Harden, right? He's playing the preseason game with the Rockets. So, but maybe that's just a little tantalizing appetizer for other teams. He's like, I hope you're watching this, Kyrie, KD. I'm going to drop 40 tonight on these preseason nerds.
I think there were some jokes that he was looking a little large.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Spent the club nights were showing, I guess.
He was a little bloated with beer or something. Yeah, yeah I don't know. But I think that's all I had for news, which is a big one. I'm glad Giannis is staying.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our fantasy draft we did. So last Saturday, we did a draft, us 3 plus 9 other players. All 3 of us participated in the league together last year for the first time, but COVID derailed that. And then most of the people we drafted with in the league that I'm referencing came back, and then I got a couple other people to fill it out. I think we had 9. Me and Scott were in 2 leagues, but they're both 9 people leagues. And then this year we have 12. So I guess my first just general question is, by the way, Scott's team is named Booby Titty, and Giancarlo's team's name is Spooky Season. Mine's Caruso the Rat King. Just go around and just tell me, what grade do you give your team, like post-draft? How did you feel about it? Either of you could start.
Post-draft, I give myself a B, maybe a B minus. I had a really great, in my opinion, great direction I was going, but I didn't flesh it out with enough good guards to really drive it home. That's what I ended up missing. I just went Ash Ketchum on the centers, and
I have a note here.
I just backed down when the guards I wanted started going up in price, and I just backed down and did not. We did auction draft, by the way, which is the best format. There's no contesting that. If you do a snake draft in basketball, what's the fucking point? Everyone gets the same players, at least quality wise. You don't get to customize your builds as much. Yeah, so I just blacked down on the guards, and then they dried up, and I was like, well, better take this center, I guess.
I have a note here. When the draft concluded, Scott had 6 centers. 3 of them were true centers, so they are only listed, their only position listed is center. And that's a good point. Thank you, Scott. We did a salary cap draft or an auction draft, which basically means we all start with $200 fictional dollars. The turn order for nominations randomized when we get into the draft, and then basically each person just nominates a person, and everyone just bids on it. Highest bid gets the person. So it is a lot. It is a really interesting, strategic, complex situation that plays into which we're going to talk about too. But yeah, so I thought that was funny. But so you're saying B minus?
Yeah, and just to give some context, we play in a categories league, which is also the better format as opposed to points. If you play points, you're just boring.
Yeah, I don't.
And I was trying to execute a punt strategy, which is where you draft players with certain faults, but they're better in certain other areas. And you basically draft only players with the same faults so that you can just load up on the other stats they're good at.
Maximize what they're good at, yeah.
So I was punting threes and free throw percentage. That was what I wanted to do. And then a couple of the linchpins I wanted, Ben Simmons and to a lesser extent, Fred VanVleet were 2 guys I really wanted, and I just backed down and let them go. and that's
I
why
really
Giannis
do
over
like
me.
your I like what you're going for, and I identified it pretty soon into the draft. Really just like him coming in my room and like growling and biting her legs. I don't know why.
She knows you're doing something.
Yeah. But yeah, I liked what you're going for. It was kind of similar to what I wanted to do too. And I did like what you're doing. I think the first I could pull it up on my phone. I just have the whole list of everything that went. But I like your first 4 picks were solid. You got Anthony Davis at a great price as your first pickup. And then yeah, I don't know. It wasn't I think there's just one time probably where you should have just tried to get a guard instead of a center.
I really
you
should
kept
have
nominating and chasing centers. But other than that, I mean, I liked your draft.
Yeah, like so I should have just paid up for one extra guy, and then just kind of tried to ride out the $1 like bench guys a little more. I actually ended the draft with $8 because I literally couldn't find anyone to nominate. That's how like late it was. In hindsight, I should have spent that $8 and then just picked up a few more $1 guys.
Yeah.
And I could like I got Kemba Walker for 15 trying to bid him up. That was also a mistake. I do think Kemba Walker's good. He's just hurt, and $15 is a lot for a guy whose future you don't know. You know. So if I didn't do those 2 mistakes and I left with Ben Simmons, I would have given myself an A.
With your strategy too, you could theoretically get some of those more mid-tier centers for cheaper too. You know what I mean? Especially given that you had the little $8 buffer, you probably could have got. I mean, I think Whiteside probably should have gone for a little bit more, but he went for $4 in our draft, and then I think Mitchell Robinson went for like $2, $3, $4. Aldridge went for a couple dollars. No, he went a little bit higher, but yeah. But I mean, overall, I did like your draft. What about you, Spooky Season? Where do you grade your draft?
So I think I'm in a similar range in that B minus. I do like my team, but I kind of just ignored injuries and injury risk. I was like,
I was going to ask
whatever.
You about that.
And your team has a very high ceiling, 100%.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that and that's kind of what I end up looking. I'm like, oh wow, like they could be so good, but then, like I already have a few guys with the little injury tags, and some guys that like notoriously get hurt, like Porzingis and Brogdon and Kawhi takes games off.
I forgot about
so
that.
Like we could get off the rails.
It is
quick.
It is a spooky team for that.
It's perfect. So that part makes me nervous. But like Scott was saying, the upside I really like. Like I didn't really have a strategy. Like
okay. I was going to ask what your strategy was if you had one.
I'd say if anything, I was just trying to get guys that I think are good. It sounds stupid, but like
no, I mean that's strategy.
Like guys that are going to do a lot, like that are gonna be fairly efficient and that are gonna shoot free throws and that are their scorers and like can shoot threes, but not like a specialty. So I was just trying to get like generally good guys, and my core is Brad Beal, Jason Tatum, and Kawhi.
Yeah,
who are all like small forward, power forward, or shooting guard, small forward. So it's that like type of player, like a 3 or a 4 that just like does a lot, like is going to score, is going to get rebounds, is going to get assists just because they're so involved in what the team does. But like, I don't know if that's the best approach for fantasy, because like maybe I'm not paying enough attention to like steals, blocks, doubles, like things that are harder to like automatically gauge from a guy. Like, I know Beal's going to make threes, but like, is he going to get steals? Like, I don't know. Like, and maybe that's too important of a thing for one of my top guys. And I just don't know if he can do like at like 2 of the categories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I did. I was looking at. So yeah, like you mentioned, you got Kawhi with the 8th pick overall, and that was your first pickup for $42, and then you got Jason Tatum 4 picks later for $47, and then you got my guy, Real Deal Beal, for $41. And it was really interesting because
Those
I was
are all
looking
pretty
at,
good prices too.
yeah. Well, it
It's
was
not
kind of
like
interesting because I made a note that you got three $40 players, but like from the range 41 to 47, 47 being the highest, nothing at 50 or over. And then the rest I wrote were nibbles because you have all of these guys that you got for $3 or $11 or less. I think only 2 guys were $11. Your 2 injured unicorns, Jared Jackson Jr. and Porzingis, and then the rest were like $3 here, $4 here.
Malcolm Brogdon was $9 because
Malcolm Brogdon $9, Marcus Smart $7.
I should have just fucking bid 10. I don't think it wouldn't have been much more than that. But hindsight,
yeah,
yeah,
that probably would have been my max.
There's a couple times like, oh, go ahead.
I'm a Brogdon fan too. Like I should have just had him on my team because I like him. Like I have like 3 shirts with his name on it.
Just easy, makes it easy to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would have only had $7 left at the end of the
draft. That's true. That's a good point though, Harry, because that is kind of what ended up happening. Like I had those few picks at the beginning, and then I like missed a lot of like the middle of the draft when guys were going, but they were just like more than I could pay. Like I wasn't going to drop like high 20s for someone when that would leave me in like a Carl position where I had like no bargaining power. So I didn't want to do that. But then I got to this point where I was getting all these guys for like 10 or less. And I was like, well, I guess I'm like rounding out my team. And it kind of happened faster than I was expecting. So
I don't know. I really liked that draft though, because I kind of feel like I could never draft that way. And I'm not saying it's a bad way, but I'm just saying like I could maybe see myself getting 3 $40 guys, but there's just somebody I'm just gonna like mongoloid go for like 12, 17, and then really kind of mess it up. The fact that you went like really evenly distributed, like 40, 40, 40, then 2 11s, which evens out maybe like another $20 guy, or at least math wise it is, and then you just got all these little value pickups. I don't think I got any value pickup guys. Like there was two guys late in the draft that I knew probably nobody wanted, or like it would just be $1, dollar projection guys that I did want. But nobody like we're talking about, Brogdon for 9, Marcus Smart for 7, which I think are adequately costed, but still those are like, they feel good to look back on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are 2 guys I was targeting as well.
Yeah.
I think with that, the reason why I think that happened was I only did 1 mock draft the day before, and I went crazy and spent like, I don't know, 70 or something on Doncic. And then because I was like, I really like him. Like, I think he's going to have a great year. Mm-hmm. And in that mock draft, I was feeling like, okay, this could work. But then as it kept going, I was like, I'm screwed. Like, I don't like these guys I'm getting later. I feel like I spent all my money. And so like,
it doesn't feel good when you're pinched in, like, when you're like, I can't even fight for these guys because once they go, like we were trolling Carl, once they go to this number, I'm just not even legally even allowed to bid anymore. That feels really bad, especially when you have a couple guys in your head that you want.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, well, I guess that leads. So, for my grade, I think I wasn't really happy with my draft at the end. The next day I woke up and was less like emo about it, but I was kind of down on my draft a little bit. So I would probably say like maybe like a C. I think just right at a C. I think I got some guys I wanted. Like I had a list of people that I wanted. And then I woke up and I was like, okay, maybe it's like a C plus to still a C. But I just got really thrown off. Like the beginning of like, I wanted to go for Paul George, not really hard, but I was like, maybe he'll fall to the 3rd round. Some people have bought some big $50, $60 players, and then I can get him at a couple bucks cheaper. And I still think he's going to be a good production horse. And then Carl just randomly comes in the draft. He's nominating first, and he picks Paul George. And I was like, okay, I'm not ready. And then nobody was ready. It's kind of funny. Like the first couple of picks, which is the most important, kind of snuck under the rug because everyone was like either talking in Zoom or like not fully paying attention or not fully ready to commit like $60 on the dotted line yet because we just started. And so people snuck, and and then I regret not getting on Paul George. And then I got stuck with LeBron because not that I was mad to get him, but I was just like, oh, LeBron can't go for 44. And then I clicked it and then I bid. And then I ended up getting him for 44 because everyone backed out. And then I was like, okay, now I'm really thrown off because I don't know what to do because I didn't expect to have $40 less. And like the person I really wanted is already gone. And I was like so jumbled.
Yeah, I psyched myself out too. And I overpaid for Bam Adebayo, I think, which was not necessary for me to do.
I think the money was right. It's just maybe whether you didn't want to spend that money or not, because I think you paid a fair price.
Yeah, like I overpaid, but he was like kind of redundant when my first pick is AD. Like,
sure,
I think that if I paid $37, I think Ben Simmons went for 36. If I pay $37 and get Ben Simmons, I'm happier. Because
you got Bam for 42.
Yeah, and it just kind of psyched me out of bidding for a little while, which is when Ben Simmons and De'Aaron Fox, those guys I really wanted, slipped from me because I was like, I gotta wait. I'm spending too much. Half my money's gone.
That happened to me too. I got so 7th pick overall. I got stuck with the bill with LeBron, and then 4 picks later, I actually was bidding and I won Jokic at 51. So I literally like just chopped my money in half after the first 11 picks of the draft. Me participating in 2 of them, one just up bidding and one actually bidding. And then I was like, okay, now I gotta like figure out what to do because I only have so much money to play with, and I'm looking over. There's still like 5 accounts that have $200. But what was I gonna say? I really did like both of your guys's. I respected the fact that you guys were getting in though, because even you were at least upbidding people, Scott, and then Giancarlo just constantly kept nibbling at people and didn't really like. I mean, I don't know. Did you get anyone that you didn't like? You got stuck with? You feel like?
Yeah, there were. I'm trying to remember because there definitely were a couple where I was like, oof, I wasn't really planning on getting this guy. But I think I just kind of talked myself into him like pretty quickly. I was like, all right, like that could work. Let me see. Was there anyone like I think Gallo was like that. Like I got Gallinari and I was like,
yeah,
I probably didn't really want him, but I was like,
but you got him for $5, I think.
Oh, was it 5?
I think
that was
so.
probably.
I think Gallo went a little higher, like around.
No, Gallo $5.
5, okay.
Spooky season.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So you were doing what I was doing. You just upbid once from the 4 number and it went to, and then you got stuck with it.
Yeah. Porzingis was probably like that too, honestly. I don't know if I didn't, when Porzingis came up, I wasn't like, I'm getting him. Like he was definitely like, I'll for that much, I'll give a little bit more. And then I got him. Yeah. So like, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But I did like, you were constantly in there stirring the pot. Both of you guys were on some of the bids. I didn't have the confidence or the courage to after I already got stuck with the $40 bill. But I did wish looking back at some of these numbers that I was in there, because a lot of guys too, like $1, they're still gonna bid again, but it's still another $1 or like $2 you made them pay, because I'm just saying I didn't even like bid on people, and I wish I just like ticked up once.
Yeah, I did that a lot. I'd put in a $2 because like you want this guy, like pay something, right? I only really got stuck with Miles Turner. I didn't want him. I didn't need him. My roster was fine without him. I can't really trade him because all he does is provide blocks, but it is what it is. I was just trying to, someone else nominated him. Yeah, I think he went to me for $7. I was just trying to bid him up a dollar or two because at that point in the draft,
you got him
people's money was getting low, so every dollar counted at that point.
Right.
So, Yeah, I just got stuck with him.
What do you guys think was the biggest steal? I have a couple listed here. So we talked about Paul George. He went for $33. Curry went for $52. Scott got 80 for $54. And then TJ Warren went for $7. And then if you guys have another one, but I kind of pulled four for you guys to pick from that. I
think I got Drew Holiday for 19. I like that a lot.
Honestly, I think the price for AD is great. I think he does so much. Like, he's giving you points, rebounds, he's getting you blocks, he's getting you double doubles, and he's probably going to get you threes, like at least a little bit. It's not a zero for threes. So like, I mean, and then field goal percentage is probably going to be good. Like, I think he fills out all the categories. And like, with that team, I guess you could argue that they might rest him a little bit, but like, they're going to be good, and they're going, like, it's him and LeBron, obviously, but I think as the seasons go on, LeBron is going to be taking just that slight backseat more and letting AD just do his thing. Like, LeBron is literally setting the table for AD like every game because he can control everything, and he puts him in a position to have, like, you know, MVP caliber performances. And so, like, for that much, like, yeah, it's a lot, but it's not like 65. So I think even that $10 cheaper is a great value.
Yeah, no, I was stoked to get him at that price. If I just wasn't spooked by paying that much for two guys really early, then I would have probably executed the draft a little better. And I just basically don't have much scoring, like raw points, and I don't have great assists, but otherwise I'm really, like, I can't be touched in rebounds. Field goal percentage can't be touched really. Well, I can be, but it's like I'm still top of the league. Steals, I'm very close to the top three, 100%. I'm just lacking in threes. I have like Anthony Davis might be the person who has the most threes on my roster. But that was by design. Free throw percentage, not great because I have a lot of bigs.
You have Drummond.
And then I tried to just suck up like guards, like for assists at the end, to try and patch that up because there was no scorers left either. Yeah. So I'm probably middle of the pack there.
Yeah, you got Drew Holiday for 21, but I agree. My vote out of those four was AD2, even though we're talking about a $54 price tag. Like you said, G, it's at least, you know, projected money wise in auction draft supposed to be probably like $13 more on average. Yeah. So just that $10 to $13 savings, given all he can do, and
got
like
me basically, Kemba Walker
basically is like waving the flag for Scott's, like the way he wants to play his fantasy team with everything, like you mentioned, that he's contributing. I think it's big. That was the biggest I wish I clicked once regret of that whole draft, because I watched it tick down from 3-2, and then like I had this instant thing go on in my head, like, oh, someone's gonna like click it again, right? And then like it just went to 0 and then just slid to Scott, and I was like, oh my God, I should have. And then because of the joke too, for me personally, was like right after that, or no, LeBron went first. That's what it was. I got stuck with LeBron, which is the other reason I didn't click it. But I was just like, for $10 more, I could have potentially had AD.
I thought that too. I was like, I just got AD for $10 more than Harry got LeBron.
And I was like, this is stupid. And I didn't even want LeBron.
We have a Lakers fan who like really like drafted only Lakers last year in the league, and he didn't really go hard for either AD or LeBron. So,
Harry, when did AD go? What was the...
AD went 9th overall, and I got LeBron 7th overall. So the first 4 nominations were Paul George, Harden, Trae Young, Jimmy Butler, and then Steph Curry, Giannis, LeBron, Kawhi, AD, and then Lillard was like the top 10 nominations.
Yeah, so for me, like, so AD came right after Kawhi. So like, I just went in on Kawhi, and so I was probably like, well, I can't go back to back. Like that doesn't seem smart. But like in reality, there's no reason I couldn't have done that. Like I could have gone, whatever I went on Kawhi and then 60 on AD. Like, I mean,
I still have like 80, $90, and Carl could definitely not bid for Anthony Davis. But I was just expecting somebody to just throw a bid out there, and then nobody did, and then Scott just got him for 54, and I was like, well, fuck, that was what made me feel the most sour. Not jealous for Scott, but I was like, I got stuck with LeBron, didn't even really want to bid. I was just trying to bid once, and then I was on the other side looking in, we're like, man, if I just upbid once on AD, maybe it would have had him for $1 or $2 more, you know. Yeah. And then I was just like, man, this is already a mess for me. And then I just put down the biggest overpay in my opinion was D-Rose for $9. He didn't really need to get nominated at that point, and then he paid quite a bit for him, where I think he could have picked.
Who got him?
My buddy Marcos. So he was the Dream Shakers team, and I don't know who was bidding, but because I think he nominated him. And then someone was bidding against him, maybe just bidding him up, and then he eventually got him for $9. And he was someone I was thinking about, like if I really needed guards, I could, go to get him for free agency, but I wasn't even thinking about nominating him near the end. Because he will produce, but I don't know, $9. I mean, you got Brogdon starting high assist player, even though he's injury prone, for $9,
Yeah, when D-Rose came up, I mean, I love D-Rose. I think everyone
Me too.
does. But like fantasy-wise, when he came up, I was like, I just checked out. I was like, I'm not getting him.
I couldn't even throw one bit. I was like, I don't even want him for $2, to be honest, because I was still like trying to like mold my team, and I didn't have a lot of money left because it came up kind of early in the draft, which was the other surprising thing. So that was my vote for biggest overpay. We talked about strategies if you had one. Was there any? So we kind of talked about two like kind of big moments that kind of made you pivot or rethink the draft. But was there anything else now that we've been talking that kind of stuck out in your mind that just threw you off or made you have to redo everything, or someone took somebody off the board that you really wanted?
I don't want to, I guess kind of two. I don't want to rehash the Paul George stuff too much, but like really it threw me off too, because I was planning on coasting. I was like, okay, like first pick, maybe like Harden. I was like, I'm not really going to bid on Harden. And I was planning on kind of like getting my bearings. And then it was like, Paul George, like, do I want Paul George? I don't really know his value. I don't want to all that. So yeah, we said that. So that kind of threw me off. But then the second thing, and I guess this is kind of strategy too, like I was hoping to like delay some guys so that, you mentioned D Rose went a little early. Maybe that's an overpay. So I was trying to kind of like, hopefully guys would get delayed. So maybe people have less money and then I swoop in. I was hoping that Devin Booker would happen too. I was like, if I could get him later in the process, like, so where it's a decent value because people have kind of spent money. Like I really wanted him.
Right.
And I don't remember when he came up, but it was sooner than I was hoping.
Yeah.
That's pretty ambitious on my part. It should have known he was going to go.
That's actually a really interesting thing that I want to talk about is how dangerous do you think it is to kind of hold players to try to value swoop them in later rounds? What do you think about that, Scott?
I think there's only two schools, in my opinion. It's shock them at the beginning with your nomination of a guy who's not consensus top 10. Try to sneak.
Because people don't want to open up, right?
Right, yeah. Or just delay it as much as you can and just hope that no one's on your wavelength, and never nominate guys that you want, and just try to sap as much money out of the auction as you can before your guy comes up. I don't think that there's really any other strategy behind it. It's like there's no benefit to going in the middle, because you still have
there's still
$200
$200. Yeah. Yep.
It's either everyone has $200 and you just grab Paul George, like kind of what happened, for a decent price, or at least at like average price, right? Like getting someone at the average price they go at is still a win in my book.
Yeah,
because you can plan around that. It's just when they go higher than usual is, which a few of the guys that I wanted did go much higher than their average price. Especially Fred VanVleet. I think he almost went for like $30. He's like 25 or something like that.
I think he went for 22. I remember thinking like, that's definitely higher, but that's probably worth it. Yeah, Fred VanVleet.
I should have just paid it.
22, 54th pick overall, and then Devin Booker went the second pick of the third round, so he was the 26th pick overall. And he went for $42. Because that's the one thing, like, I was in the school of thought of like just always nominate people you don't want, push people onto them, especially like you could even like get really deep with it and push like specific, like just over inundate the board with like one role, like just push guards if you really want like a guard, and like let everyone buy the Kembas of the world and the Donovan Mitchells of the world, right? But then I started thinking like, I do think you need to just start throwing some people up early and try to just get them when people aren't like ready to go, because that's what happened to me. Is like I was doing a couple of those mock drafts and I would try and wait. And part of the problem too is that everyone just leaves by then. So you're just drafting in spots and they're just going to hike up the price. They don't fucking care. It's not their money. It's not their team. They're just going to hike up the price to what the projected is plus like 2. But I kept doing that, trying to wait and try and get people in later lands. Like, oh, maybe people don't know about yada. And I just felt like it never really paid off for me. And there's also always like 2 guys just staring at me with $200. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, I can't get into a gunfight for, we keep talking about like for Ben Simmons, who's supposed to go around 34, 38, 40, because even if I try to get him for the normal price, they're going to have it and they can go higher. Or they could just, push me to like pay 42 because they can by upbidding me and cripple me harder. So that was the one thing, because it's Scott and I talked about this. We both really wanted Ben Simmons. I wish I just nominated him, like second round. And I'm going to tell Scott this right now. We have another draft on Sunday. I'm planning to just nominate Ben Simmons in the second round. Just get it over with. Like, some people have spent their money on their 60, 50 plus guys, superstars. And then it's like either those people stay back,
the bidding more, bitch.
Because they bought Harden and Curry and Giannis, and now it's me and Scott just bidding. But either way, probably we're going to get him for a fair price. And then we have the peace of mind, like, okay, we have Simmons. We can build around him like me and Scott both want to, even for 40 or, for like $5 more for 40 or 42 or whatever it is. Instead of like, man, I hope no one's nominated him yet. No one's okay. Once he comes up, I hope I can go for him, because then it's an issue. Because that's what I felt like happened with me with Sabonis. By the way, I really regretted not by trying to like shelve Simmons, because like we talked about, I didn't have a ton of money. I already spent 100 in the first 12 picks of the draft that went on for like 150 plus picks. And then my buddy, who I knew from last year, does a strategy of just sitting back and just trying to get value money in and then try to have more money than people, got Simmons, partially because I feel like he moved a little slow with his overabundance of money in relativity to the draft, partially because Ben Simmons was like the only kind of good player left. You know what I mean? So he was just like, okay, yeah, I'm in. Still hadn't really opened his purse yet, and then finally got him for like 34, 38 or whatever. But it's just because there wasn't like any more big names off the page anymore. Not necessarily. I don't even know if he really wanted. I haven't talked to him strategy wise if he really wanted him. And I was like, man, I should have just, because I know if it was early and he sees me and Scott like 28, 29, he's just like, I don't want it. It's not worth it. The guy's not worth it. And then it was between me and Scott or maybe somebody else, and we still would have. I could have gotten him, or we could have gotten him a decent price. But I just basically got priced out because he could punk me with his money.
Yeah.
So
even if I overpay for a guy like Ben Simmons,
but you want him, and he's
better
good for your
about
team.
it. I feel better about it when I have the money in the bank to do so.
And then you just
if
make
I
plans.
Went AD 54, Bam 42, Ben Simmons 40. That's exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I have so little money left over that I'm just paralyzed, by doubt at that point.
Yeah, that's the big thing you have to fight, I think. Because that's what I was feeling too. I was like, okay, I got. Well, the other thing too that threw me off, because like I said, like Ben Simmons was like the linchpin of like I want Ben Simmons, and then you get these guys, and then I got stuck with LeBron, and then I bought Jokic, and I was like, maybe I don't need Ben Simmons because they do very similar things in the same stat columns, and that kind of threw me off. And then I got stuck between like, do I want Ben Simmons? Should I nominate him? Should I try and shelve him and sneak him? And that was the other thing that stopped me from nominating him earlier. And then he just went late, and then me and Scott didn't get him, and the person that had like the most money at the time did. And I don't even know if they really wanted him. But so this actually, I want to ask this question to you, G. But I was talking to one of my friends that was in the draft, and he said he didn't believe that in the $50 man. He said nobody's worth $50 or more in the draft. What do you think about that, being someone that did draft everybody under $50 and a lot of people at like $3, $4, $7? What do you think about that, having drafted it twice at least now with us?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's no one worth 50. Like, I think there are guys, definitely. Like, I think, Luka, AD, like really those top Harden, like, I mean, assuming he's going to play and everything's normal, like he's definitely worth 50. So because I think of it as like, if a guy, like if Luka was there and the bid to me is like 50, like, am I hitting that button? Like, yeah, like, of course. I'm not going to back off because I don't think he's worth 50. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, that means he's definitely worth 50. But I think you kind of have to, like, you do have to know that you're doing that and that you're going to be in a position where, like, you are going to miss out on a lot of guys kind of in that middle tier because you went big on at least one guy, and maybe you went on, like, you got a 60 and you got a 40 or something. And so I feel like it's fine as long as and your strategy is working from knowing that, like, okay, I have to cool it for a while and I need to come in on these cheaper guys later in the draft.
But you can't just go like 60, 40 and then like, yeah, I'm getting this guy for $20. You can't go in with that mindset because
exactly
there's no shot that it's gonna pan out that way. And it happened to me. I had that mindset. Yeah, Ben Simmons, $35, got it. Like, I did a bunch of mock drafts. He went for 30 all day.
Yeah.
And it's like the Mike Tyson saying, like, everyone has a plan to get punched in the mouth. Once that $100 is out of your bank account, you're just like, oh.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, actually.
It's like,
yeah, especially when you're looking at a bid, you have $100 left, and the guy you want, you're gonna have to give up 30 of that.
Third of it. Yeah.
I know. That's what I love and hate so much about the auction draft. And I think maybe this is why Scott and I we like strategizing, and auction definitely adds way more that than just picking guys. But we also like being in pain, kind of. And like the auction draft just provides so much opportunity for mental anguish. You know what I mean? That I'm just like, oh, because I'm like, yes, he's worth that much, and to me, he's great. He's great for my team. And then you're like $35, and you're like, oh, I don't know. Can I?
So I'm gonna spout like an egotistical take. Granted, I'm not like cute.
Hold on. Let me get on Twitter.
Yeah. The reason I wanted it to be auction draft, because I think even though a lot of us are new, this is just my second year of fantasy basketball, I would have made the best team in a snake draft. No, 100%. I'm completely confident. I'm so well versed in fantasy football, and they only do snake drafts, that I would know how to exactly reach for guys that are kind of like my guys in a snake draft. And the auction facet of it bucks that kind of mold so that everyone kind of is on a level playing field in terms of like visibility and likelihood of being drafted. Because if you're at the front of a snake draft, you pick your pick, you're just AFK for a long time. And then most people have a narrow view of like, all right, when I pick next, it's going to be these guys, and they don't scroll down a little farther when they're newer to fantasy. So I think I did worse as a result of it being an auction draft because of those emotional things and all the pain, so to speak, but it's more fun that way.
I agree.
And on top of the pain, you have 10 seconds to make these decisions, right?
Yeah.
What's your line? And then you're looking at like how many people are you bidding against? Like there's 4 people and like they keep upping it and then someone jumps it by 5 and you're like, shit, like what just happened? Like I was in my range and now I'm all of a sudden in this position where I need to decide, is this guy worth that dollar amount or is he not? And like that's hard to do in a 10-second window.
And a lot of people like to snipe bid, like with 1 second left, you relax in your chair, like, okay, I got him. Then another bid comes in. And now you just like immediately kind of go haywire because it's like getting food ripped out of your mouth. And you're like, do I just keep fighting now? Do people like see red and just keep clicking because now they can't let this other person just be it? It's not about the person anymore.
I clock them. I clock them.
So I'm actually trying to write like a little article about that, like how to just like decipher and distill emotion out of like the auction draft, because I think it's just this great battleground with your emotions and just with the fact boiled in that like humans are just complex, right? Like some of these things they're talking about are just about being human, having emotions, and certain little things like pulling you other ways that like make you do weird or things that you regret, like even the same night. But you don't even know who you're going to be drafting with, like what's inside their mind. Like I know you guys don't, but I'm friends with everyone that's in our league, but I don't know them intimately. I know some of them think, but also I just don't know, like what they're going to do. Like, I never would be able to be like, okay, Carl's going to nominate Paul George first, even though I know him better than some of the other people. I know some of his tendencies, maybe his views on like finances or whatever. And I'm just like, well, shit. Now I like came in, I had this little pen and paper of like list of guys I want. And now I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And the whole time I'm just like freaking out. He slides to somebody that's not me or Carl for $33. And I'm like, that probably was a mistake by me. Because
the reason I had that take about snake draft isn't because I think I'm a fantasy basketball god. It's because I've done enough snake drafts. They're scripted.
Yeah, you make your pick. You know how to like
who's gonna. 5 of 6 guys that are around your next pick are gonna be there for your next pick, and you have a lot of time to let people make their choices to iron out a plan.
And you're not gonna fall for like flights of fancy either, right? Like the Derrick Rose really early in the draft pick. When you could, and
I've done hundreds and hundreds of fantasy football leagues. I just know how they work, so that's why I say like if it was a snake draft, I would probably dominate because I just know the script, right? And most people don't like really look into it that much. But auction just here's a script,
it's just bananas
out the window, and it's just the fucking wild west.
I know it just feels like it just feels like guns drawn. And everyone's just like looking at each other. Sometimes just 2 people are standing there just blasting, and everyone's watching with their full wad of money.
So then while 2 people are blasting and someone's just stealing something in the back.
Yeah. You know I mean? Like, and 2 people are asleep. They're not planning to get into like.
It's never the same twice. That's why it's so good.
Yeah.
Snake draft. If I picked first in a snake draft, who do you think's coming off the board for number 1?
Yeah.
James Harden
or AD. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's no. And then now, if it's a 12-team league, you're picking 22 and 23. There's a finite amount of guys that are going to be there that are arguably round 2 to 3 picks.
Yeah,
they're always going to be the same guys every time.
Yeah, just even to quote our draft, like 13th nomination overall was OG Anunoby, which I think he was like
I took for $12.
No, yeah, you got him, but I was gonna say I think is a good player and somebody actually wanted in later rounds, but did not think would go top 20. And then right after that, kind of the homebrewed meme, but right after that, Wiggins got nominated, which maybe
I
he'll
think
have a
he
good
was
year.
an overpay. That was a huge overpay in my opinion. That's probably takes the overpay kick on my.
You think for $13?
Wait, he was 13. I thought he was in the 20s.
No, $13.
Okay, never mind. There's somebody that was in the 20s. I was like, oh fuck, like it's not good. I don't remember who it was though.
Okay, I'll have to find it for you.
The thing too with auction that is so much more interesting is that you can take a strategy where like you're going to like get these guys. You're going to build your team around like specific guys, or you're going to build your team like who knows if Carl. I don't know what Carl's doing, but he got.
We have to talk about Carl after this.
Yeah.
He got Giannis, Harden, and Curry. Impossible in Snake. Impossible. Like not even a thought. So like, but hey,
that's
like,
a good way to put it though. Carl's draft strategy was not even a thought. But sorry, not to cut you off, but we'll come back to this. But the question is, did it work out for him for not thinking too much? Because he did have three top 10 players in his arsenal at the end of the draft.
Arguably, 3 top 5 players.
Yeah,
arguably.
I'm just being really, really modest, but yeah, I think you're right.
In terms of fantasy, right? Harden, my top 5 would literally be Harden, AD, probably Giannis, Steph, and then I don't know who my number 5 would
be. Maybe Jokic,
maybe.
Probably Jokic or Cat.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, picky. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
You can't be wrong with that list. So, wait, sorry. Finish your thought, though, G.
No, so I'm just saying, like, he gets those guys, but then you like, okay, so what's he round out the rest of his team? LaMelo, Harrison Barnes, Marvin Bagley, DeAndre Jordan, Cantor, like all these guys, and like maybe those guys are fine. They're like they're gonna do enough to like fill out, like they're not great, obviously, but maybe or maybe he just hits the waiver wire super hard and gets these guys that no one drafted,
or
and
gets
it works
a rookie
out.
that just popping off.
Exactly, but it adds in that piece of it's at least something that a guy can do.
Yeah, you look at his team and you're still sweating, even though like he has.
100%.
He has some, firepower, even though he has some clowns on his squad, and those guys could carry. Who knows how it's going to pan out.
Because if I'm thinking about if you catch him in a week when 2 or possibly 3 of those guys have like 4 games, like you are screwed.
Yep.
Like
it's
over. And you just kind of have to hope that doesn't happen. I mean, however the schedule is this year, maybe I haven't really thought about that too much with the fewer games, but more compact. So that'll be an interesting wrinkle too. But exactly, it just adds another variable in the equation of like it's just another route someone could take.
Yeah. The auction draft is really like, and I know this analogy gets used for other things, but it really is like building sandcastles, and the waves are just coming in every like 10 or less seconds and knocking down your sandcastle. Because even in like, there's just so many variables, in terms of like nominating order, your money, your budget decreasing, also like slightly a wrinkle of like positions matter kind of, but then more importantly, like the amount of slots you have left on your team matters, because I think a lot of people too sometimes are like, I have the money, I want this guy, I don't want to get him though, because I don't want to go to 6 people on my roster when there's still a whole lot more to be seen, which is 6 is for most leagues like half or almost half of the roster filled. So there's just all of that, and then when you finally get in, you're just like, now you're seeing like, can I afford this? Do I want to pay this? Is he worth it? And what am I going to have left? That's what keeps holding me back, is I don't even like, I feel really solid in like how I evaluate them money wise. I feel like, or like, I just sometimes it just feels like that for 22. Yeah, that's, that's good. I'll pay that or a little bit more. Right. Obviously anything less is gravy, but it's more like can I go to $54 after this purchase? Like $35 for this guy is fine. I'm happy with that. But can I really go to $54 after this and I still need to get like 8 more guys? That's the thing that holds me back a lot of the time. And I had to basically just go to sleep for the draft for a while because I did get a couple, I think I went, I got LeBron, Jokic, and then I think I went Levine was my third pickup for 26.
That's the guy I wanted to.
And then I'm just like, I gotta, take an Ambien and just chill out because I don't have a lot of money left in regards to a lot of other people. And there's still people that I wanted too. So I was like, I can't really like get cute and like throw a buck here, throw a buck there in case I actually got them. So I just had to sit back for a while. But yeah, that's something that held me back a lot, is just doing the math of like what's left over in my bank account. So let's talk about Carl, because we already kind of touched on it. I wanted to bring it up as kind of like the choral or the antithesis of the nobody's worth $50 argument, right? And for the record, I believe that, like what you said, Gene, what Scott said too, that there are definitely $50, 50 plus guys, and they are worth it. Like there is, first of all, this is not real money. Everyone starts with the same amount. People express, which I also thought was really, really interesting psychologically. People express, like Scott did, feeling really bad about having money left over after the draft. But yeah, we all get $200. Whether you spend it all or you don't, it goes poof. It's not real money. You use it to get guys for this draft. So saving and putting in 401ks or Roth IRAs are not a thing. So you got to kind of just spend it a little bit. And there are definitely people that can win you draft. Like even if Scott's team was a little worse, which again, I think his team is good and it's devoted towards a strategy. But even if his team was a little worse, the fact that every time I pull up his team and see AD at the top, I'm like, fuck, man. Like, it's going to be rough, because AD is just going to do a lot on his own for the categories that are in my league. But yeah, so now let's talk about Carl, who employed the strategy of like, I made this note too, because again, I'm trying to do this article. And I said, Carl, I had one drafter who was the only one that showed up on camera drinking a beer. I thought it was very funny that he rattled off 360 plus or 260 purchases in a 50, because I think he got Curry. Yeah, he got Curry for 52, which again I think is a really big steal.
That's a really great price.
Yeah, and he just didn't think, and then he was talking the whole time too. Got these 3 highlight guys, kind of actually just like you literally just blitzkrieg the whole draft in us, because we're like, there goes Giannis, there goes Curry, there goes. Okay, wait, Carl has all of these guys. That everybody hadn't spent a dime yet, and then he's still like, okay, I'm gonna bid for this guy, and then we started like messing with him. And
you could audibly hear him spam clicking up the price, even though he had
like, I want this guy, this guy, and then we just kept putting the bid at like $13 because that was like his max bid, and then he was out. But he was always participating for people, and then even when he got somebody trying to like bid for them and got stuck with him, he's like, okay, we can make that work, like freaking like Harry Giles, we can make it work, and. What is there to be said about that strategy? What did you think about Carl's draft, and how good do you think his team is? Because I think it's actually it is good, but like how far can it go with his?
I think that if he had the biggest potential to really just fuck the league.
Yeah.
With like if he would have spent, I think his max bid was $17.
At one point, yeah.
Like after he got those 3 guys.
Yeah.
If he would have spent more than $10 on one of the guys that kind of was a cookie jar, like kind of like what G got, and then just filled it out with $1 heroes, I think he has a really great shot to win.
Yeah, I think if he got Porzingis for 12, think if he bid you one more time in G and you were like, you know what, he's hurt, you won't probably see play for a month, I'm good, and then Carl gets that guy too, and then he just, gets the rest of his team as $1 guys, which aren't, there are still some decent guys you get for $1. Then I think it's just insanity, right?
Like a great guy for him, like Brook Lopez went for $9. If he gets Brook Lopez at 10,
I agree.
He gets those blocks
and bolsters.
He has steals, he has threes, he has rebounds. The only thing he doesn't have is free throw percentage, basically, from Giannis tanking it. And then he just gets some bench centers that are still going to get you rebounds, still going to get you blocks. And
I feel like if Carl handed me his draft after his first 3 picks, I could have won him the league. I think.
Yeah, me too.
Of just like value late sleeper guys.
Like, imagine he gets, he has like probably a one $10 guy, one $5 guy like left, because you still have to fill it out with those $1 guys.
Right.
And everyone's going to bid you up into like $1, right? So, he gets Brook Lopez and then like a $5 like guard or small forward that can just get a little bit of production everywhere.
I mean, if you didn't get it,
I got Markelle Fultz for $1. If he gets Brook Lopez and Markelle Fultz on his squad, it's GG. It's a wrap, because Markelle Fultz gives you those assists, those steals.
He doesn't need
raw points. Yeah, Marcus Smart. He needs defensive production and percentages,
and then just like reliable production. Doesn't have to be great, but like
like
assists,
if he puts a 1 block, 1 steal type of guy, like in every, not both, because those guys you have to pay more for, but a Marcus Smart averages a steal a game or more. Brook Lopez averages over 2 blocks a game.
Mm-hmm.
You put those guys on your roster, like it's GG.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other thing too, like, I mean, I agree with all that. I mean, it's also like a fun position to be in if you're
you're
right?
just watching everyone scramble and you're like,
And you got these guys, plus like, you talk about like causing havoc. Like, he could trade a guy. Like, if he is like, all right, let me move one of these guys and get good pieces back, then like he has that flexibility, right? Like, he could trade away Curry and get pieces that he needs. Like, if he's looking and categories are weak, like he could try to do something like that. But it's just an interesting angle, because he has that. And then maybe someone's like, well, I don't want Curry, but I want Harden. Well, like, he can maneuver that. And so from a pure like fun perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense too. And you get all 3 big name guys.
And he clearly was having like the most fun in the draft too. Like he was just he never stopped talking, and I'm not saying in a bad way, just as a like legitimately, he never stopped talking in the Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And he also just had he just had it rolled up.
He just kept saying, "Oh my god, he's goated," like, or like he's insane, like.
And after
just random ass here like players.
After what is it? After like 6 picks, he was basically spent money wise, but he still participated in like every single bid, or tried to, unless we didn't let him because of money blockades. Mm-hmm. And he was talking the most, laughing the most, having the most fun, and then we're all stressing like on the calculator.
He actually probably had like the best strategy. He just didn't execute it like the best, but like there's a lot to be said. Like, he can bid up these guys to $5, $6, $7, and he's still happy to get them. Yeah, but he's still making other people pay.
And he knows.
And I think that's really important. I don't even know if he was actually cognizant of that, but that's such a really strong position to be in, because these guys in the middle of the draft, he's just gonna bid them up, and then create like this almost fake like urgency with these guys.
That's a really good point, actually.
And then he's out. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
If he give me this guy for give me Robert Covington for $8. Yeah. No? All right. Didn't think so, but fuck. What if?
Yeah. That's actually really, really interesting, because like you said, like he has no loss to gain. If he gets some of these guys for crazy steals, then he's like, cool, I have a little bit less money to play with, but I'm still going to keep doing it. And I got another good guy. But the rest of the time we're like, okay, we can't let Carl get it, because this seems already great. And if we just go to like $10, he can't bid anymore. But then because of him, all of our bids started to like go from $1 to like $17 or like $19, like you mentioned, Scott, to get Carl out, kind of as a joke. And at the early rounds, that's fine because everyone's worth projected value $50, $60+ So it's like, yeah, get it to 20, speed up the process. We're going to end at 40 at least anyway, but that he did a really good job of constantly ratcheting up the price and making people also commit their bids
and
early.
I think that he could have got a better,
I think he just needed to stop.
I think that if he took AD for 16 from me instead of Giannis, then it would just be a wrap, because AD and Giannis do the same things well, but AD does a little bit extra better.
He's more defensively reliable, yeah. Stat-wise, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was fun watching him just wreak havoc on the draft, and also to sit back and what, Carl's team is actually still fucking pretty good, or really good. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I wish I did that. I probably wouldn't have the gall to do it. And that's part of the beauty of Carl is if I know without asking him, he didn't come into it with a strategy, and we're dissecting like this, he's this mad scientist. That was the beauty of it, was he kind of was like, I'm just gonna. Well, the funny thing too is, to cut myself off, is I was just worried that Carl was gonna even stay in the draft the whole time. And the funny thing was, he ended up staying the entire time, even though he basically was done after 3 picks, but he also participated the most in the draft. Because last year, if you remember, he went to dinner with his mom or something, didn't realize we were going to do salary and it was going to constantly be interactive. Like Scott saying he thought it would be Snake. Okay, I get a notification on my phone, turn it on, I pick Harden, close it out, wait till another notification. Didn't realize it was going to be like that. So he auto-drafted the whole draft last year, which fucked up it for everybody else. And I almost didn't add him into the league because I kept saying hey, are you going to join us? And he kept hem-hawing oh, I don't know. Is it auction? Yes, it's still auction. Why? Auction's late. Just, are you going to do it or no? Because I can get other people, but I'd rather prioritize you. But also I don't want to prioritize you if you're going to fuck up the draft and not show up again. And then he did the complete opposite and was totally interactive and participative. And then also walked away with 3 of the biggest steals of the draft.
So I was thinking, when you said you had wished that you had done it, I was thinking, so what if multiple people came in with that strategy? So Carl did it, but
and
what
if really interesting?
Yeah, if 2 other guys were
it can't be. You can't support that. I don't think it's a one-horse race. When
more than one person can do it, but I don't think more than 2, 3 could really.
I don't think. Well, one person can, but I don't think you can win the league by having more than one person do that.
Yeah, probably not, because then you get a couple people, if they're smart and slightly aggressive, like G did, and get 4 really good $40, $38 guys. That.
Well, no, I'm just talking about the meat at the end, the $1 heroes. I don't think there's enough to support the back end of everyone's roster and 2 half rosters of $1 guys. I
don't know. Because it really depends on how that's the interesting thing about that style, though. And the other interesting thing that I've been thinking of more is the more people get bought, the more pressure puts on the rest of the people that didn't make a purchase, because it's just an increasing experiment in scarcity. You know what I mean? There's not going to be.
I tried to create center scarcity and it didn't work.
Well, I don't know. I think that was the wrong position to do.
Now in hindsight, yes, but
it's a good point, because my fear was I don't want to still have 200 and have the guys who I think are elite be gone. I want one of them at least. I don't want to be here feeling like I'm overspending for a middle tier, maybe not middle tier, but a second tier guy, overspending because I feel like I have to.
Because that's what I think is going to happen, Scott. Again, I don't think they can always win, but let's just say, go down the rabbit hole that 2, 3 people do this Blitzkrieg Carl thing, then it puts more pressure on the middle guys to actually overspend on middle guys, because they have the more money, so they can bid. And then now maybe Siakam can go for 40. And you're like, what are you doing? But it's I don't know. I need a guy and I have money, and only guys with money have money. So we're just bidding against each other. I don't know. And then people are still going to get taken. People are still going to be forced to spend money, that when you come to the end of the draft, again, those Blitzkrieg guys have to sit for a really long time. When you come to the end of the draft, though, everyone's still going to have be in that $10, $13 range, and then you're still going to needle for like those good value dollar guys. And then there's just some people that get overlooked, or you could try rookies. I don't know. I think it's possible because it does put more pressure on the guys who are still left with their, thumb in their finger in their nose and their full pocketbook, to try to feel like they have to make a play and spend money to get guys. I don't know. I'd like to be a part of one of those drafts. I don't know which side I want to be on, but I want to see how that would go.
Be crazy.
Yeah. Because then you actually, it just inflates the middle, which would be real. Like, you have someone probably spend the same amount of money for like Giannis as like, I don't know, maybe, well, Booker already went for the kind of same price. Maybe, I don't know. I don't have a good example off the top of my head, but like maybe Levine. Like Levine's good. He's worth, high 20s, 30s, but maybe he goes even $10 more, $10 more, just because people are like, I need a solid guy, have more money spent. I get in the shootout with another guy who has a full $200, and then they walk away and like, well, shit, I should have just committed earlier for like a real superstar. I don't know.
Speaking of rookies, have you guys seen anybody in preseason that you like? I have a guy that I really like. I already picked him up.
So I have
Conrad texted me about that guy the night before, and I had open spot, but I was like, I didn't watch him, and I was like, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. And then I saw you picked him up, and was like,
oh, who
go
was
ahead,
it?
you. Tyrese Halliburton from the Kings.
He just had a
great game. It was just everything.
Damn it. Everything. We talked about him at the end of the last pod. Remember when we were talking about
how he could go with Fox, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, damn. But I was going to say, I haven't watched any preseason, mostly because I don't know how much weight to put on. It's so hard because, like, is it real? Like this guy, this Lakers guy, that's everyone's talking about, right? So, like, I mean, it sounds like he's probably like legit and could, but like, what does that mean? Does that mean he like plays, like he plays, like that's it? Because the Lakers are fairly deep, and so he barely gets any court time. Well, that's not really a fantasy relevant guy. It's a real basketball relevant guy, but like, so I'm a little bit scared that I would watch and fall in love with a dude, pick him up, and then realize like this guy's barely even gonna play. Like he's not worth it for fantasy.
So 2 things on that. They played against the Clippers with like actually Paul George and Kawhi playing, and he still went off for that crazy. I didn't watch the game, but I just know they were in at some point. But you're also right that like when you're on the Lakers as like a rookie, it's less savory because you're so far. I mean, Kuzma's going to get more time than you, and Kuzma's never had a game like that, but he's probably realistically getting more time than you. And I'm just, using that as like a low tier example. So yeah, I don't know how much stock you can take into that guy, though he can play, because they put him in a couple times in the bubble when they're sitting like LeBron and stuff before the playoffs started. Yeah. And he was just like, I'm just taking mine, and he was making plays. And I watched, actually, I lied. So I watched one Bulls game, and then I watched part of the Lakers-Clippers preseason game, not the one where he went off. But he was the same thing. You could tell, like, the coaching staff just told him, like, just get yours. Like, show us something. I don't care. Like, we don't care about these games. And he was just, every time he got the ball, pull up 3, trying to take somebody in. And he was, like, banging shots. And it was the Clippers again, too, because they did, like, that double back-to-back thing to limit travel time. And I was like, this guy's fucking going hard. And then I had the same thought, too, where I was like, well, is he going to play, though, in the actual games, Which is the opposite of, like, Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero was going fucking off in preseason and summer ball, right? And people were like, well, is it going to translate? Well, yeah, they were already like, yeah, we're dialing him and he's going to play. So I think it is team specific. Like, and it's funny, sorry to end this tangent. Conrad, who's also in the league, he's Rubio season. He texted me, Scott, about Halliburton. He was like, hot take, but I think Halliburton is a better Lonzo than Lonzo. And I just texted him, I was like, I don't know these guys because I don't watch college. So I was like, I'm just going to agree with you. And then I saw his crazy line, and then you picked him up. But the funny thing is, Conrad picked up the Tucker guy from the Lakers. I was like, you should have just taken your own hot take advice and got Halliburton, because I think Scott won that pickup war.
He just, to me, I'm a newer NBA fan, but he just passed my limited eye test. He did everything. Like he banged a 3, assists, rebounds,
he had a block
steals,
too, right? Or 2 blocks.
Yeah, I think he had maybe a block. Well, it was more of like a steal. Like it was like a kind of.
He was listed. I saw the line, and he was like, he definitely had a steal and a block. I think one was 2 and one was 1. And I remember
he had 2 steals.
Okay, so I think he had 2 steals and a block, I think. But yeah, I saw that line. I was like,
yeah, and that's just
really good.
Everything you want. And he had pretty high assists. Like for me, I'm not chasing points at this point. I'm just chasing production in other categories.
And so the opposite side of the coin, though, is like we were talking about in the last pod, Halliburton will probably see a lot more play, though, because
he was playing with Fox.
They need a backcourt with Fox, and might get moved or whatever. But yeah, they want to play that go fast, push him, young guy guard play style, So I think that's more worthy of like trying to make it work, because that's like your last pick, right? You dropped somebody and picked them up, I think.
Yeah, I dropped Daniel Tice.
No, not another center. Yeah, and the same thing with
Daniel Tice. I auto drafted him on accident.
Same thing with I thought about picking up the Wizards guy, Denis Avdija.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I just really wish the Bulls drafted him because he looked good on the reel they showed. Again, I don't watch college, but then they
is he college or is he foreign?
Well, yes, he's foreign. Sorry, but I don't know anything about people coming to draft is what I mean. But yeah, he came from Israel. He was playing pro ball again, which was why I was like, you should just draft this guy. He's kind of battle ready, and then they went with a 6 man of the year guy, which he might be good. I don't know. I don't want to hate on him. But anyway, I saw Kyle picked up, which is on the side in our league. He picked up Denis, and I texted him. I was like, oh, nice pickup. I was looking at that guy, and he had a really good game too. I think he shot 100%. I
think Kyle also picked up Killian Hayes, someone I was looking at, just because he's going to get volume.
Yeah.
They've named him already the starter ahead of Derrick Rose, so it's like he's just going to get minutes.
Right, because there's only forwards and centers in Detroit. There's no guards, so yeah, he's going to play all night. Yes, but I think that one's fine too. Like that's a really good example too, Killian Hayes, but also the Wizards. He probably will, because I think Avdija is like a small forward, power forward, right? He's pretty tall, pretty big. Mm-hmm. So he'll probably get some decent play, even though there's Westbrook and Beal. So, but yeah, I don't know about the Lakers Tucker guy, because they just upgraded every other position too. Like, when is he going to get the ball? It's like, it's cute to be like, oh, look, we have a really banger rookie, but it's like, we just won. We're trying to win again. We picked up Gasol as like oh, hey, I don't know, you want to play with this guy, and Schroeder, who's coming off 17 points a game in actual games of NBA and stuff. So it's like, I don't know when this guy's going to see the floor, except for maybe the first couple weeks, because everyone's resting from the Lakers.
I guess the flip side is, if he is legit and they really like him, then they just start, maybe he leapfrogs some guys. Like maybe he starts taking some of Kuzma's minutes or something.
He could take Quinn Cook's minutes.
Yeah.
he could take Kuzma's minutes already. It's just will he?
Yeah. And that plus
Kuzma never dropped 33 in a preseason game, I don't think. Or probably even close to that.
I would like to see how many times he dropped over 20 in a regular game of the whole season, or past 2 seasons. I'd like to know that. True.
Yeah, probably in his first year when they were the young Lakers and he was like the shining star and everyone was hyped on him. Mm-hmm. But the rest piece is interesting, right? Because they could be really playing the chess game of like certain guys resting on certain nights, and if they feel like they're deep and they're like, we can play guys, we can rest guys, and then we can play our bench guys and be fine. Maybe he's worth it, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad pick. I'm just saying
it's just not a clear cut,
it's
slide him in.
with Lakers.
But
I
gotta see how it pans out.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. I was going through this consideration today, but what do you make of LeBron for fantasy, given the potential of sitting out games, being tired, prepping for the playoff run?
I don't think it's maybe he sits back to backs, but a lot of people do that already. Kawhi, for example, Westbrook, they've already said that he'll sit back to backs, and like not maybe not all of them, but like he will. I don't think it's going to be much more than that. Maybe he just takes less minutes per game. I don't think he's going to rest like every other game or something like weird like that, though. I think, AD and LeBron for 30 minutes is going to get you dubs against 80% of the NBA. So they'll have the Coach Bud approach maybe, but I don't think LeBron's going to be like taking vacays.
So you're not worried for AD either in terms of. I mean, obviously you're still stuck.
No, I'm not worried for AD because if anybody is gonna be like carrying the ship, I think it's AD. Of the two, I think if LeBron's getting 2 days off, AD's getting one, for example. That's the way I see it.
What do you think, G?
Yeah, I think I agree. The other piece to it that feels like such an unknown to me is this new schedule, because it's like it's fewer games. So are teams going to look at that as like we can't mess around? Like there's no room for error. There's no room to take a few losses, or like the Lakers are, they're probably going to win the West, but are they looking at it as like we need to lock down the one as soon as possible? But as soon as possible takes, a bigger chunk than, like 40 games, instead of it being like half the season is over half of the season now. So like, but maybe they're not even thinking about that stuff. And maybe they're just going to rest more because of the crazy season that was and the bubble and everything. So I think my point is just that it's hard for me to like, all the normal stuff is like gone to me. Like, how are teams looking at back-to-backs? Are they looking at them as like, well, that's still a problem, or is it like an even bigger problem? Like we definitely aren't playing guys back to back, and I just have no idea.
Yeah, I'm kind of like in between what you guys are saying. I definitely think it's warranted for LeBron and AD, mostly LeBron, to get rest after the deep run they had. Given that they're older and they're banged up. I mean, twice it looked like Anthony Davis actually seriously rolled his ankle in those finals games. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And LeBron just older, but also given that it's LeBron, I think that all the cries of him like not being worth in fantasy because he's going to sit so much is overblown. Because if there was going to be any one person that was going to play a lot of minutes and be highly productive and be really old, it's LeBron. Because his, as much as I hate his crying on the court, he is just the physical behemoth that he is. And kind of what you guys have alluded to too is that he's just so smart with the game. He doesn't have to commit his body as much, and he's been doing this for years to adapt his game, that he doesn't have to commit his body as much for things. He developed into elite passer. He likes to play at the top more, and just now he can just drop down AD and just take plays off and watch. So I think that is overblown, though he is gonna take some time off, especially at the beginning, but I don't think it's gonna tank his stock. I already saw that he's like dropped a lot in just rankings of fantasy right now and his values.
I think
I
think they're gonna rest. I don't think the Lakers give a shit what seed they're going in at.
I think that's true.
Because
they're like, we're just gonna beat anybody.
Is gonna contest really nobody.
That's true.
I think they're gonna be top 4 seed in their sleep. I don't think anybody in the bottom 4 is gonna take more than 2 games off of them. in the West. So I don't think they really care.
Yeah, I agree.
But
that's a good point.
But that does lend itself more to like we can rest more, you know. But I do think that like LeBron gives you such great assists and like enough of other stuff that like he's just like worth the risk in my opinion. Like I would pay $40 max for LeBron, and maybe I wouldn't, depending if I've taken somebody. But if I get LeBron from like 35 to 40 in an auction draft, like I'm stoked. I don't think you get that production from anybody in that price range because since his value is depressing because of these rumors and this speculation. I don't think you get the production when he's on the court from anybody even close in that price range, and I don't think even if they play an extra game, it makes up for it in the areas that LeBron carries in. Like a Zach LaVine doesn't do enough for me.
Night to night, yeah.
Yeah, if he plays 2 games and LeBron plays 1, like he scores more points than LeBron, but that's probably it. More threes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could feel safe with that statement. And he had the most assists in the league. And I know he's like listed as a guard. I don't know why he's listed as shooting guard, but it's fine that he's listed as point guard. It makes sense totally. But he had the most assists in the league, and he's not even really a guard. And that's pretty
he's
nutty.
A forward, basically.
That is crazy.
Yeah, like that's
he
just
projected 600 this year on Yahoo, which is more than anybody.
Yeah. So yeah, he's projected to do it again, basically, which is so. I'm curious to see
with LeBron on my team.
I'm curious to see how much he'll go for in our next draft. Okay, last question that I had. This more just kind of refers to, I guess it could be anyone, but I guess I was kind of thinking of like your bottom picks. But who are you the most excited for on your roster? Maybe that will surprise you, or hopefully surprise some other people in the league for not getting them soon or at all.
Let me look. I really like Drew Holiday. From like the standpoint of everything except for points. Like I think he is gonna give me nice assists. He's gonna get me nice blocks and steals for the position of point guard. So I like that. I like that I got Drummond. Yeah, I think he's the best true center you can get.
Stats
because
rebound machine.
Rebounds. He's a top guy in steals too. Like you don't think about it,
is,
but
yeah.
He gets you monster.
Did not hit a fucking free throw though.
Yeah, no, my whole
but
plan
you're
was
prepared for that.
free
Yeah,
throws
you mentioned that.
and punt 3-pointers. That was my whole plan going into it. So Drummond was a must-have for me. My dream scenario was Simmons, Fox, Drummond, and Fred VanVleet and Bam. Those were like that was like my dream scenario.
Yeah, that's a good team.
I got about half of that. So
I think for me, like I'm pretty stoked about Marcus Smart, honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
yep. That was my really, really tough, the one that got away, pang in my heart.
And I think it's because, I mean, it doesn't matter that he's on my bench, right? Like none of that matters. But just knowing that I got him later, I think makes me feel better about him, or like it felt like value. And thinking about like some of those harder categories, or at least like for me, they're harder to judge, like how good someone, like the steals and blocks and rebounds, like some of the more like dirty stuff that he does.
Yeah.
Specialist for sure. And
yeah, that makes me excited of like when I need to, he's my point guard for a game. Like he's my starting point guard in a certain point. Like I feel like he might not bring the points and he might kill me on like shooting percentage, but like at least he'll do other stuff like rebounds and all that stuff. So
yeah, I mean, you have your roster set up to make him really good because of all the small forward point generation you have.
Volume shooters.
And you also don't really care about field goal percentage in that way because those guys aren't super efficient because they're just, like you said, like Harry said, volume guys. So I think you, like roster construction wise, I think you did a really great job. Even if you didn't have a strategy, you actually kind of did execute one. And that just goes to show like you just know the NBA and the caliber of players, right?
Yeah, I like both of your teams a lot, and I'm not just saying that because you're both in this call.
yeah, hopefully it works out. I have it could all go to shit real quick. So
if you can get wins before Porzingis and Triple J come back, I think you're a favorite.
You're going to see a huge boost.
As long as you don't go like, like really bad loss, which I don't think your roster will. They're both slated to come back in January at some point. So you're maybe losing 5-6 weeks of production. If you take some wins off teams, which is going to be easy to do, there's some bottom feeders for sure in our league. It's just kind of how it goes. It's going to happen in every league. You're going to be scary come playoffs if those guys get healthy and stay healthy. I have a guy, Brandon Clark, who I was like, I just wanted him because I know he's going to produce without Triple J. But once you get him back, if we're going head to head, like I don't feel good.
And to follow up on Scott's point, Marcus Smart's gonna see an uptick too because of the absence of Hayden. Like he was already just
Kemba,
good
too.
He was just already just good in the categories, but now he's gonna get to have the ball more and get to make some more plays because of Hayward gone. And that's I really wanted Marcus Smart. It actually felt really bad.
Jaylen Brown was the guy who went for 20s.
24. That I saw that, and then we started talking about something else, and I was gonna bring it up to you, and I forgot
that, but it just
that
was stupid.
That was actually that's a really good call, Scott. That was a pretty big overpay, I think, because
he's just offensive production. He does not enough on.
He's a good player, and he's lauded for being a good defensive player, but I don't think it shows up enough on the stats for fantasy.
I don't.
Especially when I don't know. Just close my eyes, pick one. I would rather have Marcus Smart, and then you look, and we're talking about G got him for 7, and then another person got Jaylen Brown for a little over 3 times more. Then that didn't feel good. I'm there on the.
That was my overpay for sure.
Yeah, no, I saw that, and thank you. I forgot because we started talking about something else, but I saw it, and that's when I went like, oh yeah, I know what he's talking about, Jaylen Brown. But yeah, I brought this up already, not today, but it felt really bad that I paid $10 for Rubio, and then the very next person was Smart, and I knew I wanted Smart too. I had him on my list, but and then you got him for 7. I was like, well, fuck. I'll give you
I could have kept. I think I could have kept bidding, and I didn't. Or maybe I think 8 was my max at that point.
I think it was, because I think you were like, oh fuck, I'm out, and then G had more money than both of us. I don't know how far he was willing to go. But just getting, like you said, at that point in time for that money, for that production, it's got to feel really good. And I was definitely really sad that he got him for 7. I don't even know. I was just trying to ratchet up Conrad, but also I felt like I needed Rubio just to back up LeBron assist-wise because I'm like, somebody's not going to be there. And I'd like Rubio to give me like 6-7 assists, to keep that category that I'm winning. I think that was the only category I think the Yahoo Fantasy did me a little dirty because I got some people that you don't know how to fully project, like Boucher and stuff. But that was the one category Yahoo at the summary said that I should win was assists. And I was like, yeah, I guess I got to take Rubio and just hope he gives me those assists and not really much else, maybe a couple steals. But then you got Marcus Smart right after. I was like, I should just waited. I should just let Conrad have Rubio, whatever, and then fought over Smart, and then that was my big regret of that draft. My guy that I'm most excited about, I think is Boucher. Basically my last two real picks, Boucher and Kobe White. I had Kobe White last year. They said they're gonna let him. Freaking Connor made me pay for him though. I didn't think I was gonna waltz and get him for $1, but he was still projected at like $2, and he made me pay $6 when I had like no money left to get me back for the Rubio steal. But I'm excited for Kobe White. They said he's gonna take over the point guard duties, or they're gonna try to this year. And he was really fun to watch last year. He's really fun for fantasy last year. And I saw a couple like shimmers of games with Boucher in.
Yeah, he just went off with like threes and blocks. And when I was watching a Bucks game, I was like, "Who even is this?"
Yeah,
guy?
I think we and Scar watching together. I'm like,
the Raptors always have that. Like this one random dude, just a wing 3-and-D guy, just takes over a game randomly.
Yeah, and that's why I feel really good. Raptors, have shown at least recently that they're really good at developing their in-house guys. I saw flickers of like really crazy power in those games that we randomly watched with Scott when he was playing in garbage time, and the departure of Serge Ibaka and Marcus Gasol also makes me feel good that he's going to get more time and he can really just fly. And hopefully he's like my biggest upside fantasy late round pickup guy. So that's what I'm most excited for, and hopefully it works out.
It's kind of weird that we're drafting this weekend. We kind of know each other's like shit now.
Or does that mean you're gonna not do a different strategy for this next draft? I'm not saying I am, but
your guys are your guys, man. Like
that's true. No, yeah, I'm probably gonna show up to the draft with the same list and see how it goes. I am. The only thing that's changing is how I'm gonna nominate. We'll have to update you, G. We don't have to do it for a podcast, but we'll have to let you know how it goes, because I already know the first person I want to nominate and the second person I want to nominate, and probably maybe be a little more aggressive at the beginning and trust like my feeling of depth of guys for the later rounds, and also that I can just sit back and let like Middleton and Siakams go by and feel nothing.
I think it's better. I think it'll work out. What we were talking about earlier, I just don't think it's gonna work. Like reflecting on it, and from when we talked, like too many things have to fall into place for you to get some steals at the end. But it's more likely to throw a guy out there, maybe a little
put people on it to be like, do you want to commit money right now for this guy? You know he's good.
For me, it's easier to be like, yeah, I'll drop 40 right now when I have my nice 30 guy, my nice $25 guy. When I have them, and I'm just like, all right, 40 for bam right now. Like,
and the pieces
easy.
link up. Yeah.
And it's hard.
You're trying to go ahead, G.
Well, if you're trying to commit to a guy and maybe you're paying a little bit more, or you're in a position where you're going to have to pay a little bit more for a guy, but like it's early in the draft, so the entire league is available. Like it's easy to be like, no, I don't want to go for that guy because I could get literally
X
anyone
and X and Y and Z.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So like that alone feels like you could get guys that you want for a decent price early.
And it helps too. It gives you more control because, depending on how much homework or internal planning you do, you still at least know whether you write it down on a piece of paper or not, like how much, like we were talking about, I'm willing to pay for this guy, right? Ben Simmons, he's projected 38 or whatever. We really want him 38, 40, 42, right? And then probably after that, I really have to do soul searching and decide anything less than that, I'm cool. You have the control because you have the full bank account, and then you can decide when you want to walk away. So you can even decide when you want to stick people with the bill, make them feel bad. And even if you go a couple dollars over, you're like mentally, I'm okay with this. Let's do it. Click. And then you get it. And you're like, I feel good. I got my guy. Now I'm just navigating this draft. It just gives you a lot more control and like peace of mind, which, as we talked about, will like translate really well into the draft by having that. Because a lot of us were running with chickens with their heads cut off, watching Carl just like grab everything and us feel like less than.
Yeah, you'll feel better about the cookie jar AD for 54 when you have your $40 Ben Simmons already.
Yeah, or vice versa. Yeah, like you lock in AD, maybe you even pay a little bit more for Ben Simmons, but now like boom, boom, I got my guys, just fill it out, right? Now I'm headhunting Marcus Smart, but I can wait, but I'm just gonna save my money to bolster that plan or whatever. So yeah, I think that we've come to an interesting glimmer on the fantasy navigation for auction.
Yeah.
It just feels so bad. You know, that was like the other one person I tried to hide was Sabonis because I really wanted him, and
Me too,
I was running out of money.
Too many. I literally said out loud, "Do not let this guy go for under 20."
Yeah, and I knew the whole time Jordan would fight me, and I kept waiting because he had so much money. I was like, please just buy somebody for $40, so like I don't feel like you can just run me out of the gym, and I have to like give it to him basically. And then we fought. That was like I think the most I ever see him like go back and forth, tick up on a bid by himself, and then he finally backed away and let me have for 22. And then, but I was just like, this is my last guy on the list like of money that I know I'm trying to fight for, so I put it out, but I really thought he was just going to outprice me because it was so late in the draft. He still had money, and I was so low on money, but I still need a lot of spots. Like I was hurting for a long time. I just kept looking. I was like, I need like 8 more spots, and I have like $59, and I was really worried. And then basically, I think it was 59. Then I basically almost halved my account getting Sabonis for 22, and I was like, okay, now I need to figure out how I'm going to finish this draft with like positions and like power somehow.
Does Jokic have power forward eligibility? Or is he just center?
Yeah, he's power forward center. I don't think I have any true centers on my team.
I think it's really important to get a guy with power forward center eligibility, at least one.
Yeah.
Which Sabonis does have.
Sabonis is just my guy. I watched a lot of Pacers last year, which I don't think no one can really say that. But I just had so much, like, I really like Sabonis, and I'm like hoping it started playing basketball out with Joey, and like I want to model his game after Sabonis, like this great like handoff screener guy that also can get a lot of assists that we could pass back to each other with give and goes, and he's just so fun to watch. And I saw actually like 2 articles were saying that he's probably going to be an overpay and like kind of be a bust for what he's projected at, but I was like, I just got to go with my guy. And I paid in all the mock drafts I did, he went for like that 16-17 projection. But I ended
You're getting a top rebounder.
I ended up paying
nice
$5
like nice offensive production from him.
So. He has great assists. I mean, he's like, I think he was the top 2 or top 3. He was top 3. I don't know which he fell, second or third, but passer from the wing. I think Bam's up there, and I don't know who number 1 was. Maybe it was Bam. But he's got really good assists. Yeah, you can always pencil him in for like 9-10 rebounds. And, he doesn't get a ton of points, but as long as he gets 10, that's double-double, and that's also a category in our league. So yeah, I was excited to get him. But that was something that I probably should have just also laid the dick on the table and just made people back off. I probably could have gotten for 17 actually, or like 18, which again is $4, but even just scraping that way by being proactive, you have more money to play with or punish people at the end, which could matter. Because it feels so bad at the end when like you're just nominating you have $1, and the second someone like bids, you're out. You know what I mean? Because they go to like $3, and you're like, now you can't bid anymore because your max was $2 or $3, and whatever the bid's gonna be next is $4. And you're just like, okay. But then you're stuck because you can't really nominate people that are bad because no one will want them and you get stuck with them. But if you nominate someone that's a little too good, then people are going to bid and you don't get them. And it's like, then you play this little game too near the end of like, should I just not nominate them and just try to drop and pick up in free agency and hope nobody nominates them? But I mean, that's another crapshoot too. So.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I have. Any final
for G? It's
yeah, I know. Yeah, it's late.
It's okay. It was fun.
He's got a pack for his Blizzard.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we'll just close it out right now, and I will say I hope that you are able to get on the plane, and if you do, that there's not a blizzard currently going on, so that you can make it to us.
That's the hope. Oh man, I think hopefully it'll be good. I'm trying to stay positive with it. I'm like it'll work out.
I hope so. How long are you planning to stay?
Till January 4th.
Oh,
so couple weeks, yeah.
Get an in-person pod going.
Yeah.
I blanked. I don't remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
We could cut the recording here, but like we can. I can send you the file, Harry, of the draft happening, and if you upload this to YouTube, we could transpose the Zoom call like over it, so and like minimize it a bit, and people can see the picks happening.
Okay, can you help me with that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that'll be cool.
So like, because basically like all we need is like the kind of the corner, right? Like this part of showing people what their bids are, who's bidding, and what the players are going for, and we can layer it.
We can
kind of cool.
Yeah, maybe we can take the Zoom recording too, and put them alongside.
I don't know. That might get noisy. I mean, we could.
Well, like with the audio, just like our four faces and Carl constantly laughing. But okay, that'll be cool. We could play around with that. We'll just have to figure out how to make that work. But thank you guys for doing the podcast. I had a lot of fun. Safe travels to G.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stay safe, my man.
Yeah, and everyone stay safe. The COVID is still raging. So.
Yeah, what I was imagining, I think maybe we move. Could we do Mondays? Is Mondays good for you, G?
Yeah, it could. Are we planning to do every week? Do you want to do one of these every
more
week?
Like I thought like we could do something cool where we talk about fantasy, like who like pickups we did in the league for the week.
They could be shorter
matchup.
Too.
Yeah. But Monday is like the kind of, I think it's Sunday to Monday is a week of fantasy basketball.
Yeah, that'd be fun. We could like recap, if you had a crazy comeback or something, exciting stuff. Yeah, Mondays should be good. Yeah, my schedule basically changes like every semester, so I'm not really sure right now, but I think it could work. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Well, it was good talking to you guys. And
likewise.
Let us know when you touch down, G. And safe travels until then.
Will do. Thanks, guys.
All right. Later. Scary spooky season.
Spooky season, booby titty, Cruiser Rat King out.